Hey everyone, this is Matt. Welcome to another Activate tutorial for creating games in GameSalad. And these tutorials are where we show you how to make simple games in GameSalad and get you used to using the software and seeing just how easy it is to create games in it. So today we're going to make a game called Dropcycle, in which they're falling recyclable goods falling from the top of the screen. And if they fall off the bottom of the screen, you lose them forever, but if you click them, they reappear at the top of the screen and start falling again. So the simplicity of the game, which may be the simplest game that we have, makes it a great way to get your feet wet using GameSalad. And so let's get started. You're going to need two things: a copy of the GameSalad software and the folder of resource files for Dropcycle. So first of all, hopefully you've already downloaded GameSalad. If not, pause this video right now and go download it. I'll wait. All right, you're back. Hopefully you've got the software, and make sure as well that you have the resource files folder, which looks like this. This is an older version of the folder. So yours may look a little different, but inside you should see some images similar to these. We'll need them for the game, so make sure you have them. But for now, go ahead and open up GameSalad. And when you do, you'll see this, which gives you various options. We're going to go ahead and start from scratch. So double click on blank project, and when you do, you'll see this. This is the interface for GameSalad. There's a lot of stuff here, so let's go through it just from the beginning. Right now we're on the project info tab. This is where you set sort of the description and preliminary information about your game. So let's give it a title. I'm going to call it Dropcycle. You can call it whatever you want. Dropcycle is a good choice. We need to give it a platform. Platform is the device that you intend the game to run on. So if you were making a game for the iPhone, you'd have to choose iPhone. Same thing for any of these different platforms. All of these platforms have different screen sizes. Think about how the size of an iPad screen is different than an iPhone screen. And both of them are different than your computer screen. It's important to choose the correct platform because that will change the size of the screen that you'll be designing your game to fit. And so it's better to do that right at the beginning instead of doing it after you've already designed the game and maybe bad things happen because you didn't have the right size when you were designing the game. So if you want to publish the game online, such as in a web page, and you may have played Dropcycle already on the Activate website, you have to choose a specific platform, and that platform is GameSalad Arcade. And that has its own specific size, so be sure to choose that if that's your intention. I'll do that, and you'll see it gives a pop-up saying that it will change the visible area of existing scenes. So that's what I was just talking about. And that's fine, so we'll click OK. Now, in the description field, we can give a description if we want. So we'll say my first GameSalad game. Don't make descriptions like this. This is terrible. It doesn't actually describe the game, but that's okay. And for the instructions, click the following recyclables. That's a little better. Now, make sure to save your work. Always save your work. And then click on the Scenes tab, and we can start creating our game. Now in the Scenes tab, we have this initial scene. So let's double click on that. And that opens up the scene view. And this is probably the part of GameSalad you'll spend the most time looking at. So let's look at the components. Here on the right, this is the actual scene. So we have several things. We have this dark gray outer rectangle, the inner lighter gray rectangle, and then this black rectangle. The black rectangle is the bounds of your game screen. So what's inside this outer white line, what's covered by all of the black, that is what the player will see when they play the game. So you want to make sure that whatever you design for your game fits inside the black rectangle. You can put things on the gray outside or overlapping between the gray and the black. GameSalad won't stop you, but they will not show up in the game if they are not inside the black. So just remember that when you're designing the game. The black rectangle is the game screen. Now over on the left we have a component called the inspector, and that's where we'll create components for our game, and a thing called the library, and that's where all of the resources are for the game. So the first thing we should do is add the images to the game that we have from the resource folder. So first of all, go over and click on, you'll see that it has the behaviors tab selected. Right now, click on the images tab. And you'll see we have no images. So let's change that. If you open up the resource files folder and find the images inside, we'll go ahead and add 3 images. So let's do the newspaper and the milk carton and the first can. And then just simply drag them from the folder into the library in GameSalad. And you can see they've now shown up in the images library, so we can use them. But right now they're just images. They don't have any existence as far as the game is concerned. If we want to use them, we have to attach them to something. So we need to create an actor. And let me just talk for a moment about actors. You may have noticed that with the scene and actors, there's sort of a theater metaphor going on in GameSalad. If you've ever been to see a play, you know that the play is broken up into scenes that take place on a stage, and in each scene certain things happen. And the actors are the people and the objects doing the things that make up the scene. And it works the same way in GameSalad. So the scene is the setting, which typically might be a level of your game by convention. It doesn't have to be a level, but that's sort of the typical use. That's the scene, and then everything in the game in that scene is an actor. And that includes both the characters, like your player's character and the enemies, but also background elements like scenery. All of those things are actors. Everything in a scene is an actor as far as GameSalad is concerned. So let's make an actor. And to do that, we click the plus button. And here's our actor, actor 1. Now, if we want to, we can add it to the scene. And the way we do that is by dragging it into the scene. GameSalad is all about the drag and drop. You just drop it in there, and there it is. But it's just a white square, and it's not very exciting. So we need to add an image, because an actor without an image is just a blank white square. And the way we add an image is the same drag and drop interface. We simply will add the milk carton. Click on the milk carton, drag it onto actor 1. Now keep an eye on actor 1 in the scene on the right. See what happens when I drop the milk carton on there. Now you can see the image is now attached to actor 1, and it replaced it here. And actually the size of the actor, it was a lot bigger before, but now it's the size of the milk carton. It changed to fit the image. So you need to remember to add your images to your actors. And now we have an actor in the game. So let's run the game and see what happens. And to do that, we just click the preview button up here. Well, that's pretty boring. It's not really a game yet, is it? It's just a floating milk carton in space. You know, clicking doesn't do anything. It doesn't move. It's just really dull. That's because we haven't told the milk carton to do anything. So let's give it some instructions, because that's the second part. We have the actors. We have an actor in the scene, but we haven't given it any direction yet. So we can click the back button. And if we want to give the actor direction, double click on the actor. Make sure to do that in the inspector. And when we do that, then you see the actor view, and this is probably the other part of GameSalad you'll look at the most. Now look up at the top. You'll see it says Actor 1 Prototype. That prototype means that any changes that we make to the actor, like giving it instructions, those will apply to any instances of the actor that we put in the game. What does that mean? That means that if I click back and I add a bunch more milk cartons, all of these milk cartons are instances of the milk carton prototype. This is a model, and all of these are copied from that model. And if we make any changes to the model, the prototype, then all of these instances will get those changes. So you want to make sure, I'll go ahead and delete these. You want to make sure that you are modifying the prototype. So we'll go ahead and double click on the actor again. Now the first thing we want to do is make the milk carton fall. And so we need to give it some behavior. And for that we go back to the library, which you can see down here, and we'll click back on the behaviors tab. Now this is nice because you can see there's a selection of behaviors on the left and a description on the right. So if you don't know what a behavior does, you can click on it and then read about it here. Now in this case we want it to move, so let's look through the behavior. And we'll see it's alphabetized. There's one called move. So let's drag that into the box here. This is where all the behavior for the actor goes. It's very empty right now. Let's drag the move into there. Alright, so now our milk carton actor has the move command. So let's run the game again. Whoa! What just happened? Well, let's click the curly arrow up here and we can restart the game. Okay, so the milk carton is moving. That's the good news. It's moving the wrong way and very fast. That's the bad news. So let's figure out why. Click the back button and let's take a closer look at the move behavior. Now you can see there's a direction and a speed. And the direction is 0. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at the scene again. One thing to note about the scene in GameSalad is that it's operated by a Cartesian coordinate system, a set of axes. So hopefully you remember your math class. There's an x-axis which runs horizontally to the right, and there's a y-axis that runs vertically upward. And you can think of those axes as a way to measure the screen in units of width and height. So the game screen is a certain number of units wide, counting from the left, and a certain number of units tall, counting from the bottom. And so if you think about it in terms of coordinates, like number of units wide and number of units tall, 0, 0, the origin point, is here, the lower left corner. And then this is, this is the x-axis, so x is equal to the width of the game screen here. And this is the y-axis, so y is equal to the height of the game screen here. So just remember that. That's going to be important later. But right now, let's think about angles. So we'll go back to the actor's behavior and look at this direction. In GameSalad, directions are measured as angles against the x-axis. So remember that the x-axis is running straight to the right. So an angle, as hopefully you remember from geometry class, if it's 0-degree angle, then it's the same as the axis. So that's why the milk carton moves straight to the right when we run the game, because its angle is 0, which means it's directly to the right along the x-axis. But we don't want it to move to the right, we want it to move down. And down is 270 degrees. So we can type 270 here, and you'll notice if you keep an eye on this circle here, see where the nub is, it's on the right. When I click off that box to submit 270, the nub jumps to the bottom. This is giving a visual representation of what the angle is. And we can actually drag this to change the angle, or we can type, either way. So now we've set an angle of 270. And so if we preview the game now, it moves down. It's still fast though. So let's change the speed. Let's make it 75. And you can see this slider here change its position. So we can change the speed that way as well. But I find it to be more precise to type. Alright, so let's try that. That's more like it. Now the milk carton's falling, and it's slow enough that we can click on it. But of course, Clicking on it doesn't do anything because we haven't set anything to happen when we click. So let's do that next. Now the thing to notice is that you can see in this text here that move is persistent behavior. That means it always happens. And we've created this move rule without any kind of condition on it. So that means the milk carton is always moving. But now we want something to be conditional. We want to say if we click on the milk carton, do something. So for that we need to create a condition. And a condition is also called a rule in GameSalad. So we can see in the upper right there's a button, Create Rule. So let's click that. And take a look at what it does. Now it makes a condition. And the default condition is actor receives event, which means the actor, the milk carton in this case, is sort of paying attention to the game. It's listening to the game, if you will. It's paying attention to see if something happens. And in this case, what happens is the mouse position is inside. And that's referring to the bounds of the actor. So that means the graphic of the milk carton. This means the milk carton is checking the game to see if the position of the mouse is inside the bounds of the milk carton. And then if it is, then do something. And of course we haven't actually set anything to do. So just to show you, let's try this. Let's put a behavior in. So there is a destroy behavior. Everybody loves destruction, right? We can drag that into the rule. So right now this says if the milk carton notices that the mouse position is inside the milk carton's bounds, destroy the milk carton. So let's try that and see what happens. Oh, it disappeared. You can restart. I didn't click or anything. I just moved the mouse over the milk carton and it vanished. So we know that the rule is working. But we don't want to have it contingent on moving the mouse position over the milk. We want to have to actually click. So for that we need to change the settings. So click on mouse position and change it to mouse button. And you can see the default setting is down. So now it says if the actor notices that the mouse button is clicked, destroy it. And if we try that, it works. Now I can move it over the milk and it doesn't do anything. But if I click, it's destroyed. However, if I click over, oh, what just happened? I'm clicking elsewhere and it's still destroying the milk. Why? Well, remember that this just means that the milk carton is checking the game for something to happen. And what it's looking for in this case is that the mouse is clicked. But it's not checking for where the mouse is clicked. So we need to do that. We need to specify an additional condition. And the way we do that is by clicking the plus button up here. When we do that, that creates a new condition. And in this case, we want to leave it on its default, because as you remember, it says that the mouse position is inside the milk carton. So we want that to be true and that we're clicking. So you have to move the mouse over the milk and be clicking. And we check up here and we see that it says when all conditions are valid. If we had selected any, then this rule would apply if the mouse was over the milk carton. Oops, that's this one. If the mouse was over the milk carton, or if we were clicking. But we need both to be true. So we set this to all. And now, if we run the game, you can see I move the mouse over the milk and it doesn't get destroyed. And I click off the milk and it doesn't get destroyed. But now if I click on the milk, it gets destroyed. Success! Take that, milk. Okay, great. So we're doing well, but we don't want to destroy the milk when we click on it. That was just to test the rule. So we can click the X button to delete that behavior. And we need to think about what we want to do. What we want to do is change the milk's position so it goes back to the top of the screen. And we could use the same move behavior that we used before, but remember that moves the milk carton across a distance with a certain speed. It's not instantaneous. And we want it to be instantaneous. So for that we need to use something else. We need to use the change attribute behavior. What's an attribute? Well, you can see if you look over underneath the milk image, there's a list of attributes here, like name, time, position, size, color, etc. So as you might be able to guess from that, attributes are what GameSalad calls the properties of an actor, such as its size and its color. And those can change. The color for the actor could be different, or the size could be different. It would still be called size. It's the same for you. Your height is an attribute. And when you're young, when you're a child, your height has a different value than when you're a teenager. It changes, but it's still called height. That's what an attribute is. It's a sort of a container for something that changes, that describes you. And that includes position. And you remember how I told you that the GameSalad screen uses an X and a Y axis. So now we need to use that, because the Y position of the milk carton is where it's located vertically on the screen. Remember that the Y-axis goes from 0 to the height of the screen. So where the milk carton is vertically, that's its Y position. So that's what we need to change. We have to change the Y position of the milk carton. And the way we do that is we click this triple dot, and that gives the attribute browser. And then we click on actor 1, because this is something specific to the actor. And we click position, and then double click on Y. And now you can see it says self position Y. So it's referring to the Y position of the actor. Now what do we want to change that to? Well, we want it to reappear at the top of the screen. So what's the Y position of the top of the screen? Well, we know that 0 is the bottom of the screen. What's the top of the screen? Well, we don't know, because we don't know how tall the screen is. But GameSalad does, and it has an attribute for that. So we know that we want to change the Y position of the milk to whatever the top of the screen is, and that will make it reappear at the top of the screen. And to do that, we click on this little letter E. It's called the expression editor. And we click on this little arrow pointing down, and that gives us the attribute browser again. But this time, we click on game instead of actor. We click on game because it's for the whole game. Display size, height. Double click on that, it appears up here, and then click the green arrow. And now you'll see it appears here. So we're saying when we click on the milk carton, change its Y position to be the height of the game screen. So let's try it. Aha! It works. Jumps back to the top and then it keeps falling. So that's great. We've made a lot of progress already. But the game's not very exciting, is it? It's just one thing and it keeps reappearing in the same place. I don't even have to move my mouse. I just wait till the thing falls into the mouse and click. This is pretty boring. It's a lame game. No one wants to play it. Forget this game. Alright, so how can we make it more interesting? Well, how about we change where it appears horizontally when we click it, as well as vertically. But this time let's randomize where it appears, so we don't know where it's going to fall. To do that, we're going to need to use the change attribute behavior again. So we'll drag another copy of it into the same rule. And now we need to choose the X position. So that's actor 1, position, double click on X. But this time we need to use a random function. And that's a little more complicated. So I open up the expression editor by clicking that E. But now look, you can see it says insert function. Click on that, and then choose random. And you'll see it says random min max. So the random function takes a range of possible values and picks one. So we need to choose the minimum value that it could be and the maximum value that it could be. What should we pick for those? Well, we know that the milk carton should not appear outside the bounds of the game screen, because then we couldn't click it. That wouldn't be very fair. So what are the edges of the game screen? We need to think about the horizontal edges. So that's the left side of the screen and the right side. Remember that the x-axis starts on the left with 0, and it goes to the right, to the width of the screen. So on the left edge, x is equal to 0. And on the right edge, x is equal to the width. And we get that the same way as we did the height. So make sure that you highlight the word max because we're going to replace it. And then click on Insert Function and choose Random. Oh, well, we already did that. Hang on, sorry. Not Insert Function. We need to click on the arrow. And then choose Game, Display Size, Width, and double click. So now this says Random between 0, the left edge of the screen, and the width of the game, which is the right edge of the screen. Click the checkbox. Now it appears in there. So now it's going to change the Y position to be at the top of the screen and the X position to be somewhere randomly across the width of the screen. So let's save and try that. Aha! It worked. Sometimes it's a big jump, sometimes it's a small one, but there's no way to know. So that's great. Now it's more interesting, but it's still not very challenging. It's just one falling object. It's easy to track it and click it. So let's make the game more interesting. And the easiest way to do that at this point is probably to add more falling objects. So click back. And now we're going to click back again to get out of the actor view and return to the scene view. So let's add some more actors. There's a shortcut for this, I'll show you. Click on the Images tab. And now just drag Can1, the image, directly into the inspector, the actors. And you'll see it creates an actor with the Can1 image attached. So we've saved ourselves a step. We didn't have to create the actor first. And it's even named after the image, so there's no stupid actor1 name. So I'll do the same thing with the newspaper. And now we can add those to the game by dragging them in just like we did before. And now when we run the game, we have the same situation as before. Now the milk carton is still falling because we set that up, but the newspaper and the can are just chilling. They're just hanging out, literally. And that's because, of course, we didn't give them any behavior. So let's give them behavior. And why don't we just give them the same behavior as the milk carton? Now there's a shortcut for that as well. We could click on them and put in all of the behavior manually, just like we did before. But we're lazy, and we want to work more efficiently. And there's no need for us to do all that work again when we already did it on the milk carton. So here's the trick. Double-click on the milk to open it up. Now click inside the behavior screen, just so the computer knows you're looking at it. And then on the Mac, do Command A. And on the PC, do Control A. And that will select all. And you'll see there's a blue outline around all of the behavior now. And then do Command C, which is the copy command. Control C on the Mac or the PC. And then click the back button. So now we've copied the behavior. And as you can probably guess, we can open up the can and click inside and then paste, which is Command V or Control V for Mac or PC. And you can see we've pasted in the same behavior. And we don't have to make any changes. Even though we were talking about the X and Y position of the milk carton, it's just referring to self. So that means whatever actor has this behavior, change its X and Y position. So now it applies to the can. We don't have to make any changes. And we can click back and open up the newspaper and click inside and do the paste command again. And now the newspaper has the same behavior. Super simple. We just saved ourselves so much time. Good job. And now, if we click back and save and run the game, suddenly it's much more challenging and interesting because we have 3 objects to keep track of. They're all falling from different heights, which change in relation to each other depending on how quickly we click the things. And yeah, there's just a lot more to keep track of simultaneously. So you can see I'm managing to keep them all in play, and they keep reappearing, but as soon as I miss one, it disappears and it doesn't come back. And so now I'm just clicking these, but eventually they fall off the screen as well. And then they're all gone, and then I'm sad because I lost the game. Why'd you make me lose the game? No, I'm just kidding. You didn't make me. Anyway, that's really it. I can click the circle to restart, but that's it. We've made our first game. Congratulations! You've made a copy of Dropcycle, and it's a super simple game, but that's okay. You can see how easy it was to create this in GameSalad, and this is very distracting. I need to stop playing this. So at this point, the tutorial is done. Feel free to improve this game further. Maybe check out some of the other tutorials. Think about how you might add to this. We could add a actual lose screen, because right now when they all disappear, there's no you lose or anything. We could add that. You could add some kind of point system, change the behavior, add more types of objects. There's all sorts of things you could do. But just think how you might improve this, and then move on to the other tutorials, and just have fun playing around with GameSalad. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.